Why hello there, and welcome back to Let's Make Us a Character. Spooky Edition. And in this episode we'll be making a character for the most important role-playing game of the 1990s, Vampire: The Masquerade, which did a lot in turning design trends away from the increasingly complicated way things were going to a simpler, more character and story-based approach. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my review of Aliens Adventure Game or Albedo. Those should give you a good idea of where games were at and where they were going. But on to the subject at hand, and let's make us a Vampire: The Masquerade character. Character creation is a simple 5-step process with a convenient outline. First, we come up with our character concept, and let's just go with eccentric artist. Then we need to choose a clan, which is kinda like a class, except that they don't call it that. We have 7 clans to choose from: Brujah, Gangrel, Malkavian, Nosferatu, Toreador, Tremere, and Ventru. Or we could just go without a clan and be a caitiff, but I'm pretty sure those are like the scrubs of the vampire world, so we're not gonna do that. There are, in fact, 13 clans total in the mythology and in later editions, because 13 is spooky. But this is the first edition, so we only have these 8 options. And given our character concept, the obvious choice is Toreador, since
we're the sexy ones.
Our clan determines what disciplines we can take, which we will get to in step 4, provides some general ideas of how our character should act, and gives us a weakness, in this case becoming fixated on beautiful things to a point of becoming immobilized. Next we choose our nature, which is the type of person we are, and demeanor, which is how we act. They are selected from the same list, and for our nature let's take architect, which is the creator archetype, and allows us to regain lost willpower points by creating something of importance or lasting value, like a video about a 30-year-old role-playing game. And for our demeanor we'll choose gallant, because it just seems appropriate. Also, the demeanor has no mechanical effect and is just kind of a role-playing suggestion. Our character's various statistics are measured in dots, which represent how many d10s, the best kind of dice, you roll when testing said attribute, ability, etc. So on to step 2, where we have 9 attributes in 3 categories, all of which start at 1 dot, unless you are a Nosferatu, in which case you are so ugly that you have a permanent appearance score of 0. We start by prioritizing our attribute categories, and we will do so in the order of social, mental, and physical, which determines how many dots we get to add to each category. So let's start with our social attributes and put 2 points each in our charisma and manipulation, and 3 in our appearance, since, as previously stated,
Toreador, we're the sexy ones.
Next, we'll put 2 points each in perception and intelligence, and 1 in wits, and let's just go ahead and put 1 in each of our physical attributes. Now on to step 2, abilities, which once again are in 3 categories that we must prioritize, so let's go with skills, talents, and then knowledge. The order once again determines how many dots we get for each category. So let's start with skills and put 3 dots each in etiquette, music, and stealth, 2 in melee, and 1 in drive and security. Then talents, and we'll put 3 in empathy, 2 in alertness and subterfuge, and 1 in dodge and leadership. And finally knowledge, and we'll put 3 in occult, and 1 each in computers and linguistics. Now on to step 4, advantages, which we do not need to prioritize because they each have a set number of dots. Disciplines are basically our vampire superpowers, and as a Toreador we gain access to the Auspex, Celerity, and Presence disciplines. For each dot that we put into a discipline, we gain either a new power or an enhancement of a base power. So let's put 1 dot in Auspex, which gives us heightened senses, and 2 in Presence, which just kinda makes us extra sexy. Next is background, of which we have 10 to choose from, so let's take allies at 1 dot and resources and status at 2 dots each. And finally, virtues, which like attributes all start at 1 dot, to which we will add 3 to our conscience and 2 each to self-control and courage. And finally, on to step 5, where we determine our humanity, which is, how human we are versus our primal vampire bestial nature, and is equal to our conscience plus self-control, and our willpower, which is equal to our courage. We also start off with 1d10 points in our blood pool, which are the points that we get from drinking blood, because we are a vampire, and that we have to spend to heal, use certain disciplines, and just kind of exist as a vampire. And after that we get 15 freebie points, which we can spend on whatever we want at varying costs. So let's spend 4 to increase our willpower because it is very important, particularly at resisting our weakness. Then 7 to put an extra dot in Auspex, which lets us now see auras. Then 2 for an extra dot in leadership, and the last 2 for a dot in self-control, which also ups our humanity. Then we fill in our generation, which is the number of steps we are removed from the first vampire, who in this mythology is the biblical Cain, which is 13 by default because, as previously stated, 13, it's spooky. We could have spent background points to be an earlier generation, but that really just gives you a bigger blood pool unless you want to spend 4 or 5 dots on it. Then we choose our haven, which is a fancy way of saying where we live, which is of course our art studio, which is of course what we call our modest apartment. We also have the option of specifying a specialty for each attribute or ability in which we have 3 or more dots. Then we just need to pick a name and this character is done. And that was a Vampire the Masquerade character. A much simpler experience compared to a lot of what was going on at the time, and with a much stronger focus on character over numbers. Like, to the point of taking into account the difference between a character's true nature and the way they present themselves. And there are other games in the same setting that let you play as werewolves, fae, mummies, or, unofficially, gargoyles. But they are all pretty similar, so I probably won't be covering them unless this video does, really well. And if you would like more information on Vampire the Masquerade, watch Kindred the Embraced, a TV show based on Vampire the Masquerade. And if you don't want more information, watch it anyway, it's a really good show. And as always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, etc. And feel free to suggest other games to Let's Make Us a Character for in the comments. And until next time, keep on rolling.